The following is a Podbeard production.
From the deepest bowels of your imagination.
Actually, he's from Canada there, bud.
From the famed Hodder Show Studios, this is The Hodder Show.
What is up, everybody? We are on audio here today on episode 222. 222. Triple deuces of The Hodder Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thanks so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I doing things a little differently here today than what I usually do, as this will be a fairly freaking short episode for the show. Haven't had one this short in a long time. I don't usually do them this short. You know, I like to do about the hour, but I'm not 100% sure how long this is going to run for. I might be at this 10 minutes, maybe 20 max. I don't really know, but it's definitely going to be a shorter episode, as there are some things I need to address about this show, about my life, and just kind of the goings-ons of the Hodder Show, this state of the podcast address, if you will. I'm, of course, flanked by all my people here at Podbeard Network, the executives of the the higher ups, if you will, as we dive into a few things I need to talk about. But before I do dive into that, you know, this is not going to be like a regular episode of the show. I was debating on even numbering this episode, but I thought the triple twos is kind of funny for a state of the podcast address kind of thing. So I wanted to go ahead and, make this an official episode. But again, it's going to be a lot shorter. This is not usually what you find on the show. If for some reason you are a first-time listener, welcome, but this is not regularly what you get with this podcast. So check out some of my other stuff, like the other 1,000 of people did last week. That's right, guys. Holy crap. Where do I start? So I need to tell you the whole story of this in order for it to really sink in. So as you guys know, this podcast, I do it strictly for fun. I have a blast doing it. I love doing this podcast. I love doing everything that I do with the show. Interviewing people, doing the album reviews, talking about kind of random stuff that I do. I just have fun with it, and I don't get too caught up in numbers. If I have a podcast that does 100 downloads, I get really excited and happy, because that's good for me. And, some people are like, dude, that's really depressing. And it's like, you know what? In the indie podcast world, that's just the reality of the situation, my friend. Sometimes you'll have episodes that'll do 20 or 30 downloads, and other times you'll have episodes that might do a couple hundred downloads. You just never truly know. So for me, the most downloads or plays, if you will, that I ever had in a single 7-day span was 557. Or 558, somewhere in that ballpark. That was unique plays and downloads of the Hodder Show. And this happened a while ago, and I do believe it was from a bot, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. That's why I didn't really make a big hype about it when it happened, because it was, I think it was like 300 of the plays came from one location. So I was like, okay, that's obviously some kind of a weird bot or something. I have never, ever paid for downloads or plays for this podcast, so I want to just throw that out there. It was not a bot that I personally created or hired or anything. It was just some random, whatever it was. I don't know. But, I still had 200 downloads that week, which for me is, that's pretty freaking good. So, fast forward to last week. It was, I believe, Sunday. So this started from the Thursday to the Thursday. Let me just say that. So a couple weeks back, I dropped a interview with my guys in Zaftig, which was a great interview. And on that, I had the refresher for the wonderful Podcoin app. Now, you're going to hear Podcoin come up a lot in this quick story here. So I dropped that episode. It was great, well received. Did about 100 plays. That's really cool. That's exciting for me. So with that, as that kind of couple days went along, they kind of staggered the plays. I got about 200 or 300 in a row in one in like a 3 or 4 day period. And I got really excited. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And that was spread throughout all of my podcasts, not just one. It was spread throughout, the 200 or so episodes I have. So I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. But then it dropped back down to like 20. And I was like, damn, that sucks. Fast forward to Wednesday. I went on Wednesday. Okay, so I lied. It was technically from like Wednesday to Wednesday or something like that. So I went on and it said I had 200 downloads that week so far from the Monday through the Sunday. And I was like, okay, that's really cool. But for me, my podcast week starts on Thursdays. So I went on Thursday morning and I had back down to like, I think it was like 20 plays. And I was like, so I was pretty bummed out, But I was like, all right, you know what? Let's drop this episode. Let's kick some ass. So in dropping that episode, I don't know what happened, but with the help of Podcoin, big help from the Podcoin community, and, me being a bonus show on there, and for whatever reason, a bunch of people were binging my podcast in the span of 7 days, not just on that one podcast, but people were going back during this time and listening to the last 10 or so episodes of the show. I got 1,000 total plays from Thursday to Thursday, or whenever it was I posted that picture. 7 days from there, because it restarts every 7 days on SoundCloud. And I went on SoundCloud and I took the picture of, it was at, 1,030 actually. But I was just blown away. That has never happened before. And, full disclosure, majority of those are from Podcoin listeners, that community, because they really like to binge podcasts. Because, again, you are earning something from listening to those podcasts. However, what tends to happen in that community is you'll go on and I'll see like, oh, this person, because I can see who listens, right? It's just kind of a thing they do. Oh, here's this dude, Mitch. He listened to one episode. Oh, cool. He moved on. That's kind of what they do, because you can get more traction that way with as far as like earning the Podcoin. Where I had like 30, 40, 50 people just binge a bunch of episodes of The Harder Show. And that was really cool. And I kept seeing them come back. They'd go listen to like another podcast and they come back to mine and listen to like 2 or 3 more episodes. They move on and they'd come back and I'm like, man, this is really cool. So that happened with a lot of people, and I'm speechless. So I just wanted to say thank you. And it wasn't just the Podcoin community. It was probably about 60% the Podcoin community and then 40% just regular listeners of the show. So for anyone who took the time last week to listen to The Harder Show, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because we had the biggest week in the history of this podcast. Without a shadow of a doubt, it was the biggest week. And there was no real reason as to why, aside from the fact that for whatever reason, just the stars aligned, and just, I guess, just enough people were looking up the podcast. I had more Google searches that week for the show than I've had ever as well, by the way, which was very, well, for the website page for The Harder Show anyway, which was very interesting, because I don't know why you would Google The Harder Show. I guess if you're looking for it, I don't know if someone was like spreading word of mouth or something last week, but whoever you are listening to the show and listening to the show last week, I seriously cannot thank you enough, because it just really tickled me, so to speak. I was just speechless. I doing this show has always been for fun, and it's been a blessing for so many reasons. I've gotten some amazing experiences. I made some friends that I'm going to have the rest of my life. But, it was really cool to be able to say officially with proof, hey man, I got 1,000 plays or downloads in a week in the span of 7 days. That has never happened before, and that does not happen to a lot of, smaller indie podcasts like myself. So I don't take that lightly. And I thank you very much to those of you who did reach out to me and say like, oh man, that's amazing. Especially kind of other podcasters on my level, that they were like, dude, like that's like life-changing. And I'm like, let's get a few weeks of 1,000 downloads and then we'll talk. But, these things come in peaks and valleys, so I'm not expecting that to happen this week again, especially because of some other news I have here for you today on the State of the Podcast address. But I wanted to address that and thank everybody for this book. It does mean the world to me. And, if you are listening right now, be sure to hit that subscribe button and all that fun stuff to keep up with the Hodder Show. And if for some reason you have not listened to the last few episodes of the show, go check out what all the fuss is about and what, last 5 or 6 episodes of the show got me so much attention. Go check it out, man. Seriously, check it out. And if you haven't yet, be sure to download the Podcoin app. It is absolutely free. Go on there. Sign up using my code HODDER, that's HODDER, and you'll get 500 Podcoin for free to, kind of get you started. You earn Podcoin by listening to podcasts. You're already listening to podcasts. Why not earn rewards for doing so? It is literally that easy. You'll find all the podcasts you want on there, and especially, of course, the Hodder Show. You go on there and binge all the Hodder Show, and you'll earn yourself a pretty hefty amount of Podcoin. So I wanted to make sure I plugged them because, that community is really awesome. So shout out to everybody on Podcoin listening right now. Now, as far as some other things I have to address, number one, for those of you who are regular listeners of the show, or have known, so to speak, that something very big is coming up in my life that is going to definitely have a big, big effect on this show. In the future of this show, at least for sure for the next couple to possibly few weeks. I am not 100% sure yet. And that is the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, I am moving. If you guys have listened to the very end of my podcast for the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, I am moving from the house I grew up in and have lived in for the last 25 years to way out in a few towns over, about 45 minutes to half an hour or so of where I currently am living. So it's very exciting. I'm very, very just giddy about it. Actually today as I record this, we signed the lease for the apartment, so I'm very excited about that. So it is 150% official. All the deposits and first and last months are down, and we signed the lease, and it is time to really start getting shit together. So the reason that I am doing this State of the Podcast address is to make sure everyone is well aware of the fact that this will be the final episode of the Hodder Show, at least for the next 2 weeks. Because next week I'm on vacation, a much deserved vacation, in which I will not have cell service, so I couldn't post a podcast even if I wanted to. So I'm very much looking forward to that, as much as I hate missing any podcasts. And then the Thursday after that is right in the middle of my move. So I am not going to have time to record any podcasts over the next couple of weeks and then edit them and then upload them. It's just not going to happen. It's mainly the uploading is the issue and the editing, because after I record this podcast right now, I have to put all this shit in a box, because I really got to start crunching down and getting stuff packed, because the dates are coming up. We're I think 2 weeks away from it now, pretty much 2.5 weeks, give or take. So I got to buckle down and really start making sure I'm using all of my free time extremely wisely and really starting to pack. And, this podcast takes up, I'd say, about 90 to 85% of my free time. So I had to make the difficult decision that, I got to take a couple weeks off. So this will be the final podcast for the next 2 weeks, possibly 3. This may be the last episode of the Hodder Show for August. I am not 100% certain yet. I am sincerely hoping it is not, because I do not want to even go 2 weeks without podcasting, let alone 3, because I'm going to be going insane at that point. I am going to do everything in my power to get an episode out for the last Thursday in August, which will be the 29th. However, for August 15th and 22nd, you will not be getting episodes of the Hodder Show. There is no way. I'm not gonna, cause myself stress and rush an episode or anything, because I was kind of maybe I'll just do this and this and this. And it's no, man, I don't want to do that. I'm not gonna release crap. I don't like to half-ass anything. That's just not what I like to do. Something like this today is a little different because I have stuff I have to talk about and address. So, my computer's going to be put away. All my gear is put away right now. All I have out right now, guys, is my microphone, my boom arm, my pop filter, and my Zoom, which I am actually using to record this right now into my Mac. So I don't even have my regular setup right now. So if I sound a little different, that's why. But so for me to record a full podcast, it's just not going to happen. So instead of stressing myself out and half-assing it, I wanted to just say officially, I'm taking at least 2 weeks off. I will let you guys know if I need to take the third week off. The only reason that will happen is if there is some kind of a major issue with setting up my internet at the new place. Because if I don't have internet, I can't upload a podcast. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But I'm very, very excited because it's going to be just a really cool journey. And, I'm going to have a little area to do my podcasting. I'm excited about that. We're going to have great working internet, hopefully. Not hopefully. It'll work better than what I have now, for sure, because I live out in the boonies. So my internet has always held me back on this podcast and held me back from having, potentially great guests on because I can't get Skype to work properly. It's held me back from doing live stuff, which has always killed me because I really want to do more live stuff, and I am definitely planning on doing that. It's held me back from a lot of things, interviews that never happened that I wanted to, interviews I've had to scrap because of the quality of it, because of my internet connection. Stuff like that won't happen anymore, so I'm very, very hyped about that. And there's some cool stuff in the works that this move is going to help out with. So I'm very excited about it. Rest assured, I'm not going anywhere permanently. I don't want this to come off that I am, going on hiatus and never coming back or anything. That is not the case. If you guys have been listeners of the show from day one, I'm absolutely obsessed with podcasting. And the thought of me taking 2 weeks in a row off is literally giving me anxiety. But I got to do it. I haven't had a planned 2 weeks off in this podcast in which I actually took 2 weeks off without recording anything at all since I started the show. Even when I think a couple years ago I took 2 weeks off because I was on vacation and then I got sick, I think. So I technically took 2 weeks off in a row that weren't technically planned, but I recorded in that time period. In this time period, I hadn't recorded anything. So I'm totally, removing myself from the podcast world for 2 weeks, and I'm getting major anxiety about it because this is my outlet. This is my therapy, if you will, because I love doing it so much and it's such an outlet for me. But I'm very excited, and I wanted to share that with you guys because I think that hopefully this can be a distance makes the heart grow fonder kind of thing for the next couple of weeks, possibly 3. I want to really stress that possibly 3 because I'm not fully confident that everything's going to be set up, but I will let you guys know. I'll try and throw something up, but that is that. And the third thing that I need to address and want to address is the fact that I've had a few people ask me over the last, say year, when I am doing t-shirts again. Because I've had shirts in the past, and they were always a hit, and I have been talking about doing a pre-order for shirts for a while now, and the reality of the situation is people don't like to pre-order stuff. Let's just be honest. So what I decided to do, and I'm saying this officially now right here, so I have to do it, I am building a store of some sorts for the show in which you guys can go on and buy merch, whether it's t-shirts for guys or girls or what have you, or hats or hoodies, stuff like that. I am building some kind of a store for the Hotter Show for that. It's going to start off super simple. It's going to be, potentially just the basic Hotter Show logo, black and white, on a black and white tee, or on a black and white hoodie, or a black and white kind of V-neck girl tee, something of that nature. However, what's great about this is you guys will not have to pre-order anything. You won't have to pay me, then I order it and then I get it to you. You'll be able to go on and buy it just like you would any other online store. And that's great for your boy because that means I don't have to front any money. Everyone's a winner. So I'm currently looking into that. I wanted to address it because a few people did ask me about it, and I'm very excited about it. I think I have a winner with it, but when I come back from my little vacation, I should have something ready to go for you guys. So I did lie. I will be doing some stuff for the podcast, just not recording. I am taking 2 weeks off from recording for sure. Absolutely. But as far as doing stuff for the show, hell no, I never stop. I never stop doing stuff for the show. I would even have to say I highly doubt I'm even going to take the full 2 weeks off from recording stuff. Because I don't think I can go 2 weeks without recording a podcast. There's just no goddamn way. I don't think it's going to happen. But that is something else I wanted to address. Because I know that if I had this online store that everything was reasonably priced, you guys could go on and get a good deal or free shipping potentially. I'm looking for, maybe $20 to $25 for a t-shirt, free shipping. Are you kidding me? I think everyone would be into that, and everyone wins with that, especially your boy, because it helps spread the word of the show. I'm also looking at stickers and stuff like that from the sites, but we'll see. Either way, I'm going to have my man Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts, the man who is responsible for all my logos and banners and everything to do with the show, t-shirt designs and all that. I'm going to have him work with me on that, and maybe even get some new designs. Who knows? But if you need designs of any kind, you need to contact him today at www.jaybirddigitalarts.com. That is JAYBIRD digitalarts.com. Whatever you need, design work-wise, he can get to you. Always remember that with him, not only is he going to get to you fast, but it's going to look great and be priced extremely well, because his business is successful, ladies and gentlemen, when your business looks great. So always remember that. I wanted to make sure I got both my my plugs in here before I signed off. But that's going to do it for me here today, guys. Just a quick one, little state of the podcast address. Thank you very much for tuning in. It is bittersweet, but I must bid you adieu for the next 2 to 3 weeks. As I sign off here today, have a wonderful next couple of weeks, and I'll catch you next time on The Harder Show. Take it easy, guys. See you in a couple weeks.